Good Sunday morning to you, Jacksonville. It's the Pain-Free Living Hour with Dr. Mitchell Yass. I'm Matt Hayes. He's Dr. Yass. And there are three ways to get involved today. The text line brought to you by Lifetime Enclosures at 904-641-1010. The live stream on the 1010XL YouTube channel or by calling 904-641-1010. We are going to have some time to take some calls today about your pain. And of course, you can always contact Dr. Yass at 904-906-YASS or visit his website at Living Without Pains. That's plural, livingwithoutpains.com. All right, today is the biggie. Today, we are talking about the number one experienced pain in the world, sciatica. I feel like I'm saying Attica, the old movie. Sciatica, sciatica. Remember how last week when we spoke about the frustrations of not being able to bend down and pick up your kids or grandkids without pain, or hitting a 9-iron without pain, or throwing a line and reeling in a big redfish without pain? Well, today is the day Dr. Yass explains sciatica and how the Yass method can resolve the pain in just weeks. Mitchell, good morning to you. Let's get into sciatica.
Good morning, Matt. I hope you're having a wonderful Sunday morning. It's exciting to be here and spread the gospel about how people can end sciatica. As you described, number one pain in the world. Estimated 40 million, 50 million people in the United States alone suffering from it. We will get into the specifics. What is sciatica? How do you know if you even have the symptoms of sciatica? And most importantly, how can you resolve it in just weeks through the Yass method? But before we get into it, I just want, as we discussed your situation last week, I just want people to understand how things have changed in your life. What is the end result that you get with the Yass method? It's one thing to talk about pain. It's another thing to talk about how to resolve it. But what's the grand benefit? What is your life like now since you've had the Yass method?
I'm going to give you one word: peace. Because again, mine was my Achilles, so it wasn't sciatica, thankfully. But when you walk around for a year with debilitating pain in your Achilles, when, you can't do things you used to do, when you get up out of bed and you can literally barely even walk in the morning until you walk it out for like 15, 20 minutes and get it a little loose, and then it's a little better, but the pain is still there. And here's the key, when there's this constant dread over you of, I know I'm going to have surgery. I know it's going to happen. Like a friend of mine said, look, you've tried everything else. Just have the surgery. And I didn't want to go under. I don't want to have somebody cutting on my Achilles. I didn't want to do it. And then I found the Yass method. And now it's peace. There's no more pain. I can do everything I used to do. I can jog over the ditch, over the bridge in Beach Boulevard. Everything I used to do, I can do again. And, that's the key. At the end of the day, it's peace. You have this feeling in your mind of, okay, everything's good.
And that's what everybody's searching for, right?
Yeah.
Right? When it comes to pain or not pain, just living the life that they choose, doing what you want when you want. That's what life's about. So I just think it's critical to understand that issues of addressing symptoms are important. It's not that they're not, but it's what's the end point? What is life supposed to be about? Life is allowing us to do what we want, when we want, with the fullest enjoyment in it. And that's what the Yass method attempts to bring to people, and Matt's a good example of that. So now we're going to just get on to the topic, sciatica. And before we get into how it's created and what to do about it, let's make sure everybody knows what is sciatica, right? We got to know what the symptoms are. And it's critical for people to understand that sciatica, by definition, is pain from the gluteal region. Look at the picture if you're on the YouTube stream. From the gluteal region down the back of the leg, beyond the knee, typically to the foot. The one point I want to make about this picture is the fact that you will notice there is no pain in the lower back. So for someone having lower back pain, please do not conceive that you are having sciatica. It must be pain from the gluteal region down the back of the leg beyond the knee. If your pain goes from your gluteal region just in it or goes from your gluteal region to just the knee, you don't have sciatica. And what I try to get...
That's a critical point right there.
Huge. And what people have to understand is that every symptom is created by a specific tissue. So varying symptoms represent different causes. So if you don't understand the symptom, how could you understand the cause and thereby end the distress of that tissue, creating that symptom? That's why...
Which is the number one thing of the Yass method.
Correct.
You figure out and diagnose the symptoms.
There you go.
The symptoms. It's not MRIs or X-rays. It's the symptoms.
Correct.
Right.
We recognize that every tissue creates a specific symptom to make you know that it's in distress. We want to be able to interpret that symptom to know what tissue it is. If you understand the symptom appropriately and get the appropriate tissue, an intervention can be performed, which allows you to be pain-free and fully functional in weeks. That's what this is all about. So hopefully everyone understands, again, the definition of sciatica, the symptom, pain from the gluteal region down the back of the leg, beyond the knee, typically to the foot. No pain in the lower back. Now, just to clarify that, we have another picture here, and what we're trying to show people is the fact that if we look here, you're going to see coming out of the spine nerve roots. That's when you're talking about the MRI, when we're talking about L4, L5, L5, S1.
Right.
These aren't nerves. These are nerve roots. If you look at this picture, you'll see nerve roots joined together to form a nerve. The sciatic nerve begins here at the gluteal region as it's passing through what is actually called the greater sciatic notch. This is your butt.
Hold that a little closer to the live stream, Mitchell. If you're on the live stream, 1010XL, you can see what he's saying. If not, we'll try and explain it as best we can.
Yeah. So basically, all you have to do is know where your butt is and recognize that that's where the sciatic nerve begins. Then it runs down the back of the leg and ends at the back of the knee. Okay? So the sciatic nerve, critical point. It does not begin at the spine. Let me make sure you really appreciate this. Sciatic nerve does not begin at the spine. Nerve roots come out. They form the sciatic nerve in the gluteal region, your butt, which is why your pain begins at your butt, and then ends at the back of the knee.
So if you're having back pain, it is not sciatica.
Critical point to understand. Okay? So next, we want to talk about what is its cause. And this is the part that will blow people's minds. You assume that if you're having a neurological symptom, it means a structural variation to the nerve. In fact, the phrase neuropathy. What makes sciatica unique is the fact that it actually has a muscular cause. That, in fact, if we look at this picture here, you're going to see a muscle called the gluteus medius. Then you'll see the piriformis, and running right below the piriformis is the sciatic nerve. So what we have is the muscle called the gluteus medius, which is responsible for your balance and your ability to support yourself and stabilize yourself, has a tendency to strain if it's not strong enough. And when it strains, the piriformis muscle will try to compensate, to assist it, because the body's always trying to help you. And if that muscle strains, it will thicken and impinge on the sciatic nerve. In 30% of the population, the sciatic nerve literally runs through the piriformis. So if it's to strain and thicken, it will constrict the piriformis. So here's the big picture understanding. Sciatica, although neurological, has a muscular cause. Say it again. Sciatica, a neurological symptom, has a muscular cause. One of the key ways to know that it's muscular is what brings on your symptom. For most people, they'll talk about it's a weight-bearing activity. I stand too long, if I go up steps a certain way, right? All the types of things that relate to weight-bearing seem to bring it on, and then as soon as you rest, it seems to go away. Well, the tissue responsible for weight-bearing is muscle. So that's the first thing to understand about it being muscular. Now, if muscle is in fact a cause, muscle is responsible for posture. So one of the corroborating symptoms, you're having sciatica. If you're out there, this right here, these are called your pelvic rims. If you just put your hands on top of that, most people say they're putting their hands on their hips. Check and see if one's higher than the other. If one's higher than the other, you have a corroborating symptom of a strained gluteus medius muscle along with your sciatic symptom.
So let me explain this very quickly to everyone.
Yeah.
Your gluteus medius, okay, is the muscle in distress. The piriformis then tries to compensate for that. And when it compensates for that, it hits the sciatica.
The sciatic nerve is impinged.
That's how you have the sciatica pain.
Correct.
It's always a muscle deficit, and that is the key to the Yass method. Everything is about analyzing muscle deficits and then finding a way to fix it.
Right. And always recognize I'm not trying to make a point that all pain is muscular. That is not the point. The point is that for you to understand what tissue is creating the symptom, you have to evaluate symptoms. I can simply say, in my experience over 30 years of treating thousands of people, that in more than 98% of those cases I've treated, the cause was muscular. Even when structural variations were identified, the representation of symptoms told me it was muscular. Then I went on and treated the muscular cause and was able to resolve the symptoms, including symptoms of sciatica, in just weeks. So that's the point to make, is that sciatica, in almost all cases, is caused by the gluteus medius muscle straining and impinging, or straining and then causing the piriformis muscle to compensate and impinge on the sciatic nerve. So just to give people an example of what would happen if you came to the Yass method, if you decided you wanted to experience the Yass method, you're having sciatica and maybe you've had it for years, maybe you've had it for a couple of weeks, who cares? You just want to get rid of it, right? No one wants to experience this. It's very noxious. One point to make. It is a really, really noxious symptom. I mean, it's the kind of symptom that puts people in hospitals. Very important point to make. Just because the extent of the symptom is extreme does not mean it is a structural deficit, that it means it's got to be from a bone or a nerve. Let's get rid of that mindset. A muscle will create a symptom, and regardless of whether it's a muscle, bone, or nerve, the intensity of the symptom is just dependent on the level of distress of the tissue, not which tissue it might be. So if, in fact, you came and you got the Yass method.
All right, if you're watching online on the stream,
Yep.
You're going to see Mitchell break this down. But you pull that up a little bit closer to that board so everybody can see it.
That's it.
A little closer. All right, here we go.
So
if you go
here
ahead.
we go. You're gonna have the Yass method for pain-free movement. We're going to evaluate your symptoms. If, in fact, the symptoms represent a muscular cause, which it is in 98% of cases, you're going to get targeted strength training. 3 to 4 exercises performed 3 times a week. Matt would attest to that.
Mitchell, explain that real quick, what that is.
So what happens is I've established which particular muscles are responsible for your symptoms, and all we're going to do is do isolated strength training, which is to say we're either going to use machines or resistance bands to cause the muscles to adapt to the resistance, getting it to where their force output is greater than the force requirement of your activities. That allows the muscles and you to perform without creating symptoms.
I'm going to translate that for you, everybody out there. He's just making your muscles stronger. Okay?
That's it.
They're weak, he's making them stronger.
That's
all right.
Then we have, if everything works out, what are we doing? We're going to get you pain-free in weeks. Here's, to me, the thing that's most important. If, in fact, it is muscular and you have a force deficit, a strength deficit, who's going to make you stronger? No practitioner can do that for you, not even me. I can guide you, but only you could do that. So you become independent in your ability to not only resolve your pain, but prevent it from reoccurring. And what's the end result? Pain-free living. That's what we're trying to get you. That's what the Yass method provides you.
Pain-free. Pain-free. Not like, okay, I'll be okay for a week or two, or maybe it'll be okay for maybe a month. Pain-free. I say this all the time on all the commercials here on 1010XL. Elimination. All right, it's the Pain-Free Living Hour with Dr. Mitchell Yass again. You can get involved on the text line, brought to you by Lifetime Enclosures, 904-641-1010. The live stream on the 1010XL YouTube channel, or by calling, and we'll take a few calls today, by calling 904-641-1010. Come on back. It's the Pain-Free Living Hour with Dr. Mitchell Yass on 1010XL. All right, we're back in the Pain-Free Living Hour with Dr. Mitchell Yass, and I know you look in your garage and you see those golf clubs and you think, man, I'd love to get on the links again. I'd love to just go hit some balls maybe. Or you're driving over the ditch, over the bridge with your family. You're going somewhere and you see someone jogging and you're thinking, God, I'd love to go jog like that again. Stop waiting. Stop waiting. You can make it happen with Dr. Mitchell Yass and the Yass Method. Call him anytime. 904-906-YASS. That's 904-906-YASS, or visit his website, Live Without Pains, plural, livewithoutpains.com. All right. Again, you can get involved on the text line brought to you by Lifetime Enclosures at 904-641-1010. You can watch us on the live stream on the 1010XL YouTube channel, and Mitchell has already broken down the sciatica for you in unique ways. And you can also call, of course, 904-641-1010. All right, it is now time for today's testimonial. Let's go out to Arizona and bring Diana on board. Mitchell, take it away.
Okay, so we have Diana coming on, and she's had some experience with sciatica, and she's just going to basically tell us about her experience from the time she had it through the types of treatment she had, her experience with the Yass method, and what was the outcome. So let's bring her on.
Hi there. Am I on, you guys?
You got it. Hi, Diana. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. I'm really glad to be here. So I found the Yass method right in 2016. I had just had my second back surgery. I was diagnosed with the, herniated disc, blah, 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 had 2 back surgeries, was in a bookstore one day, and found The Pain Cure RX by Dr. Mitchell Yass. Bought the book, started reading it, and went, aha, this is it. So started reading it, started trying to find out, hey, how can I work with this guy? Found Dr. Yass on social media, found that he could help me via Skype. This was before people were on Zoom, and had lots of sciatic nerve pain, had low back pain, had the surgeries, didn't really help. One of them helped more than the other. Went through all the MRIs, injections.
Wait,
everything.
Diana, you had back surgery is what you're saying, right?
I did. I had 2 back surgeries.
Wow.
I did. And so went through just years of chronic pain, and found out that Dr. Yass would, do a Skype because it was really difficult. I live in Phoenix, Arizona, and Dr. Yass was in Florida, and I really wanted to go see him personally, but I had some situations with my husband that I couldn't leave him. So Dr. Yass did an analysis on me, put me through literally 5 minutes of movements, stand on this leg, stand on that leg, do this, do that. Okay, let me see how you stand. Just really simple movements, and, said, okay, here's your muscle imbalance. I did understand the sciatica thing. I did understand how it's a glute medius strain, which puts pressure on the piriformis, and the piriformis lays on the sciatic nerve. I understood that from the book, so we didn't have to explain that. Literally, it was 4 exercises on the right side of my body. And I'm like, that's it? 4 exercises on the right side of on the left side of my body. That's it. Yep, that's it. I said, you're kidding. He said, no.
You had 2 surgeries, Diana. 2 surgeries.
Yeah.
And literally all it took was 4 simple exercises.
Yeah. And so then I said, oh, okay. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, this isn't even possible. I had chiropractic treatments for years. I had physical therapy. I had all, and then, the final ones, I was defrauded by a chiropractor, okay, that led to literally an FBI investigation over my back pain.
Wow.
That's another story.
Wow.
But yeah, So I had all these things, and he's like, 4 exercises? I'm like, what? Okay, so I do the 4 exercises, and 3 months later, I'm pain-free. And I'm like, well, that's really cool. So so Dr. Yass and I start, I'm on social media telling people about Dr. Yass. I'm on the chronic pain groups on Facebook talking about Dr. Yass, and no one's listening. Very few people, they're still having back surgeries and all this stuff. And I'm telling Dr. Yass, how can this be? Right? So about a year later, I hurt my left knee doing some stuff. Now, I had been a very accomplished martial artist, and I had quit doing martial arts. I had quit. When you mentioned, people looking at their golf clubs, yeah, I can relate. So I hurt my knee on the left side. I didn't go to the doctor. I didn't go get x-rays. I didn't do squat. I sent Dr. Yass a text and I said, hey, I need an appointment. I hurt my knee. And I couldn't hardly walk with my knee. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And then all my friends are like, oh, you need a knee replacement surgery. I forgot to tell you guys, I'm 63. So, this started happening in my middle 50s, this pain thing. So got to Dr. Yass, and Dr. Yass said, yeah, you strained the hamstring. And I said, I don't need an x-ray. He goes, no, you strained the hamstring, and that's why you can't walk. I said, okay, yeah, okay. So all this time I'm doing, the exercises that I was still doing from before. And he said, okay, you just need to do this on one side of your body, Diana, because your muscle imbalance is on this one side. Your right side is stronger than your left side. And so I want you to do these for like a couple months, and then you'll be good to go. And I actually thought he was crazy because, I was in so much pain I couldn't walk. It's like, how can this be that it's just, again, it's just like these 3 or 4 exercises and I'm good to go. And I had gone in for some massage and stuff, and that was helpful. And so, yeah. So, and arguing with all my friends who had all had knee replacements, and a knee replacement surgery, I don't know if people know out there, but they basically saw off the joint. That's what they do. They saw off the joint and they hammer in an implant. Okay, that doesn't sound very romantic and sexy.
No, it doesn't.
Yes.
So Diane, I just want to. Your point was that I asked you to do exercise only on one side, and for
Right.
many people, that might have been confusing to them. But the reality was the presentation of your symptoms indicated you had strained the muscles around one knee, and therefore
Correct.
that represented a muscular deficit. The muscles were in distress. That's why we only did it on that one side. And I think it's important for people to understand that if you did do exercises on both knees, both legs, that would have sustained the imbalance, which was leading you to excessively weight bear on the other leg, not allowing you to use the muscles of the strained side, which actually kept them weaker for longer. So you would have basically been sustaining your pain if you had done exercise on both legs. That's an important point to make.
You know what? It is, because if you go to, I've worked with physical therapists literally my whole entire life. Okay. And they all said, well, you've got to do exercises in both sides. It's like the myth of, hey, if you have low back pain, let's strengthen the back muscles. No, because that never works, ever. Because it's never weak back muscles that cause lower back pain. It never is. It's an imbalance between the glutes, the quads, and the hamstrings that throws the pelvis out of alignment, putting pressure on the low back. That's what it is. And these are the things that I have learned from the Yass method. I am not a highly educated person, but when you read Dr. Yass's book, when you see him on YouTube and he starts explaining all this stuff, it's 2 + 2 = 4. That's really what it is. It's not rocket science. I mean, if you really want to understand the total anatomy, yeah, that's rocket science. But for an average person to go, okay, this side is weaker than the other side, that just makes perfect sense. So because of working with Dr. Yass on the back and the sciatica, working with Dr. Yass on the knee, my husband became very, very ill. I was able to take care of him, physically be a caregiver to a person, get him in and out of bed, get him in and out of the shower, get him in and out of a wheelchair. Because of the Yass method, I was able to be a caretaker to my husband for over a year while, he passed away. And my family was like, oh my gosh, you're going to throw out your back. You've had 2 back surgeries. You're going to hurt yourself. And I'm like, no, I'm not. So the moral of the story is I was able to, being in my 60s, not being in, great shape, become my husband's caregiver and keep him out of a nursing home and a facility because of the Yass method.
So
Because
Diana, I just want to try to summarize. So ultimately, the point of the Yass method in your experience was that you had symptoms. The method, through interpretation of those symptoms, allowed you to understand the cause was muscular. You performed 3 to 4 exercises, and ultimately, you were able to live the life you justly deserved, including caring for your husband. That's the point.
Correct.
That's what I want everyone to understand about your situation.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely. It's because when we break it down, movement is everything.
Right.
If we can't move,
Right.
we can't do anything.
Right.
And so the point is dump the orthopedic model of getting the x-rays and the MRIs and the physical therapy and the chiropractic and the injections and finally the surgeries, half of them that don't work, and do the Yass method. That's the whole premise. Now, the only time when people really might need an x-ray is like if you fall and you break something, then yeah, you're going to need a surgery or an x-ray or whatever. But if you just wake up and you can't get out of bed one day because you were lifting boxes and stuff, for gosh sake, get an evaluation by Dr. Yass and get on the Yass method. And the people that I have sent that have listened get better. But the people that just keep, going through the medical system and stuff, they just don't.
All right.
And so
Diana,
it's so important.
I appreciate you coming on and telling the story and everything. We just have to get to someone else real quick. So I just want to thank you for coming on.
Diana, thank you
Have
so
a great
much.
day.
Have a great Sunday.
Okay.
What a story.
Yes,
She
incredible.
gave her husband, who passed away, quality of life that he wouldn't have gotten had he been in a hospital.
It was actually quite amazing because during that period of time, people were telling her, stop doing that. And she's like, are you out of your mind?
Right.
I have to do this. I have to. It's my husband.
Right.
And it was incredible. And she was amazed at the capacity she had. So do we still
we have a bonus right now. We do have a bonus. We've got Jill on the line. Jill also used the Yass method. Jill is here in Ponte Vedra Beach. Jill, good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
We're doing great.
So, Jill, she's actually in Amelia Island.
I'm
not
sorry.
Ponte Vedra.
I'm
That's
sorry.
okay. No problem.
Yeah.
So, Jill,
No
just
problem.
if you want, briefly give the history, man, because yours is a very powerful story. So just let everybody know how we came in contact.
Okay, so back in 2018, I was 31 years old. I was teaching 3 group fitness classes, different ones at the gym. I was also into CrossFit, super fit, very healthy, never had any issues. I was also a mom of a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old at the time. And anyways, I, started having back pain, which I'd had previously because, I worked out a lot and also just had 2 babies in that span of time and probably, just I felt so good that I probably went back a little bit too early, maybe didn't have the core strength that I thought I did. So I was experiencing some back pain, and I slowed down. I stopped, lifting weights. I thought, okay, let me just stick to cardio. The pain still was there, so I literally quit working out altogether because at that point it was radiating down my leg, which I knew was sciatic pain. I got to the point where it was so bad that I could not pick up my own babies. Um, I remember having to have them stand on a table just so they could hug me because I couldn't bend down.
Ugh.
So anyways, it got so bad. I mean, I did everything. I spent thousands of dollars on chiropractic care, massage therapy, cupping, dry needling, scraping, all of the above. If you think of it, I've done it. I was just so desperate. And I mean, I could not walk. Driving, I would just cry driving. Sleeping was non-existent. I would cry during the night, just waiting for, the morning to come. At that time, I'm a health nut, so I do not take, medication. I was on like anti-inflammatories at the time, whatever back medicine they gave me, I don't know, to help with pain. It did nothing for me. And one day I had lunch with a friend of mine, and she told me about Dr. Yass. And so at that point, I was literally already scheduled for surgery. Like, it was coming up. It was around the corner. I happened to have lunch with her. She told me, and I immediately, called him, got an appointment that Friday. Dr. Yass literally spent, I paid for an hour. He spent 3 with me. And that is him. That is, if you see him, you will know just how much he cares.
That's the
because
truth.
he will literally spend way beyond what you pay him. And that was amazing. Like, I could not. So he did. It sounds a lot like Diana's story. Like, he looked at me and he was like, this, that, the other. That's what's wrong with you. And I'm like, okay. So, anyways, I couldn't even, laying down on my back, I couldn't lift my leg to 90 degrees. By the end of the session, my leg could go to 90 degrees.
Wow.
So yes, I had that shooting pain down my left leg. Also, just like her, I had an MRI done, and I'd had several done over the years prior that showed a very, very bad herniated disc in my L4, L5, I believe. Or S, I don't know, Dr. Yass, what was it? SIL? Something like
It
that.
was probably L5S1.
Yes, that's what it was. I mean, it's sticking out, but I have never experienced that sciatic pain ever. I've had low back pain, but never that pain. And so he was like, how does that make sense? Like, all of a sudden, this herniated disc is leading to this pain that you've never had before. So just like what she said, you're just so smart, and that is not, I cannot understand half of what you say when you're, but yes, broken down, I as well have read the book. It makes so much sense. So I have the exact same thing that she had, that imbalance that I created, and my quads are so strong that they just would take over when I would work out. Like, my glutes weren't firing. And so I created that imbalance there. So anyways, I saw him. Just like her, he gave me 4 to 5 exercises to do. I actually hired the trainer that was at the office just so I could do it right. Went, a few times a week to see her and him. And I never took a pain medication after I saw him that first time after that. And so, gradually over time, the bands got too easy, the exercises. So I knew, okay, I'm progressing, I'm getting better. And we are 5 years down the road. I am back at CrossFit. I am a coach, and I feel great. Also, going back, I had shots done, 2 different shots done. They said, if I give you a 3rd shot, you're going to surgery. And that's when they signed me up for surgery. Those same people literally told me, you will never squat, deadlift, do any kind of Olympic lifting again. Your workout's going to look differently. Well, he was the one who said, no, I want you to be able to do those things. and just holding your kids. Like, you take these things for granted, picking them up, just doing normal things. It's mind blowing. Like, when that's taken away from you, it's the worst thing ever. Like, if you can't move, what do you have? You
Right.
know, like, that is something that is such a gift, and we take it for granted. But at 36 now, I don't. So it's been.
Yeah, Jill,
a
I
game
just want to
changer.
make a point about you. Anyone who has ever seen Jill would think that she is an Olympian type of lifter. I mean, this girl is in amazing, amazing shape. And the point I want to make to people is that if you're in pain, that the average person, especially if you appear to be like Jill, no one's going to expect that Jill's having devastating pain. No one's going to know in her house that she can't lift her kid because she doesn't look like that type.
Right.
And if you're in pain, you have to know that you shouldn't feel bad about that, that because others don't understand it, that doesn't mean it's not significant and needs to be resolved immediately so you can have the life that you deserve. And Jill's a classic example of that. So please, if you're in pain, it's personal, I understand it, and you have the capacity to get out of that pain with the proper diagnosis and the proper treatment. So,
Absolutely. I truly believe that, God made our bodies like to heal itself, and you have figured that out. Like, our bodies can heal itself with the right, procedures. So
absolutely.
I know that I definitely met you for a reason.
That's great. Thanks, Jill. Thanks for
Jill,
coming on, man.
Thank you so much. Have
You're
a great
welcome.
Sunday, okay?
Thank you, guys. You
That's
too. Bye-bye.
I mean, I said it at the beginning of the show. I said it. It's peace. I mean, I was laying at the table. You gave me one exercise. We did one. One. He said, and Mitchell said, now go walk around. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. This can't be real. There's no way this can be real.
When it's muscle, it's easy to fix. That's the important thing to understand.
All right, it's the Pain-Free Living Hour with Dr. Mitchell Yass. Again, you can get on the text line brought to you by Lifetime Enclosures at 904-641-1010. Watch us on the live stream on 1010XL YouTube channel. I know you guys are on there right now. We'll say hello to you. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for watching. We might be able to get a call in before the last break, 904-641-1010. Give us a call if you got a problem. We'll be back. It's 1010XL. All right, it's Pain-Free Living Hour with Dr. Mitchell Yass. Listen to the music right now. Stop thinking it's going to get better. Stop. I remember laying in my bed staring at the ceiling thinking, it'll get better. No, it won't. It won't get better. Call Dr. Yass, 904-906-YASS, or visit his website at livingwithoutpains, plural, livingwithoutpains.com. You can set up an appointment there. You can call the number anytime, 24/7. Set up an appointment, 904-906-YASS. We've had a jam-packed day. It's always quick on this show. It just goes by like crazy. Today was the biggie. We were talking about the number one experienced pain in the world, sciatica. So now, Mitchell, let's kind of circle back and go over the 10 tenets for achieving pain-free living, which I think is very important for everyone to hear. And if you're on the live stream on 1010XL YouTube channel, take a look at how Mitchell explains this, and we'll also explain it for those listening.
So before we do, I just want to hit one point you just said. The general premise for many people is if they're in pain, rest is the answer. If you have a broken bone, that is true. If your kneecap's on the back of your knee, probably need to rest. But if you have a muscular deficit, the thing to do is immediately figure out which is in deficit and begin to strengthen it until its force output is greater than the force requirement of your activities. That is the only way you're going to be pain-free. That is the only way this is going to end, and you're going to have your life back. So rest isn't always the answer. If it's muscular, it's actually the opposite of what you need to do. So now I just want to hit the idea of the 10 tenets for achieving pain-free living. This is what you need to do and understand so you can achieve pain-free living.
All right, number one.
First thing you want to understand, pain is an indication of a tissue in distress. Pain is coming from that tissue. The tissue in distress is trying to make you aware that it is not functioning properly and requires an intervention, something to do to put it back to being whole again. So you have to understand that to understand what tissue it is, you're going to have to understand the pain you're experiencing. Number 2, in more than 98% of cases, the cause of pain that I've established is muscular. This is based on my experience over 30 years and thousands of people. 98% of cases, the cause of pain is muscular. That's the tissue that's in distress creating your symptoms. Number 3, here's something a lot of people don't understand. There's 4 ways that muscle can create pain. The muscle can elicit pain. The muscle can cause misalignment of joint surfaces, so you end up having pain in your joint, but it's coming from muscle and muscular deficit. Muscles can refer symptoms. That's something most people don't understand. They assume if they're having a referred symptom, it's only nerve, but muscle can refer it. And then, like in the case of sciatica, we have a muscle impinging on a nerve. The typical reason people are having pain is that the force requirements of activities are greater than the force output of your muscles. That's why the muscles are straining and eliciting pain.
Yep.
If your pain is associated with activity, by definition, it's a muscular cause. 6, if the cause of pain is muscular, you're probably going to also see a corroborating postural deficit or functional deficit. That helps you to confirm it is muscle. 7, the only way you can ever resolve that muscular deficit is by isolated, targeted strength training exercises, which are at the core, the basis of the Yass method for treating deficits. 8, if the cause is muscular, only you can resolve that muscular deficit. You do not have to spend time and effort with a practitioner. The practitioner is required to give you some guidance, but ultimately only you're going to be able to resolve that muscular deficit. Regardless of the cause of your pain, if the proper tissue is identified, then the intervention can be performed, and you should never have pain more than weeks. It should not be looking at months or years in pain. You should be able to resolve it once the proper tissue is identified and treated. Finally, 10, the Yass method is your best hope for resolving these deficits because the Yass method interprets symptoms to identify the cause of pain. And as I've noted, in more than 98% of cases, the cause is muscular. It has the science. It has the experience. It is the pathway to pain-free living.
Again, call Dr. Yass, 904-906-YASS, or visit his website at livewithoutpains, plural, livewithoutpains.com. You can set up appointments through the phone, through the website. Find a way, the only way, to live free without pain, because that's what this is all about. At the end of the day, you can either walk around in pain or you can embrace the day right now, and make it happen.
Please take the time, get the pain resolved, get your life back, reclaim your life, live pain-free.
All right, we're going to be here every Sunday through the summer on the Pain Free Living Hour with Dr. Mitchell Yass. We'll come up with more testimonials. We'll have a weekly testimonial, I think, just to let everybody understand the enormity of what is something so simple, but the pain is so enormous. You can make it happen. You can make it happen. It's on you. It's on you. They're simple exercises, right?
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back next week, same time, 10 a.m. It's 1010XL.